Hi folks, so I want to show you some more weapon modeling tools here, some more techniques to get you making some more advanced weapons. And you can see on my bolter now I've started to add in some more detail in this area. So we've got, I'm going for your kind of LEDs and all these kind of extra bits that you'll find on weapons, and just that extra little bit of detail that means it's starting to look more advanced, more detail on there. In order to do that, what I've done is used the Boolean tool and used the bevel tool to start creating more detail on my weapon. And as I go through and start adding features like this, you're going to end up with a really nice looking weapon. So in order to get to this point, to get objects like this, to get kind of extra detail, we need to use the Boolean tool in a couple of different ways. So this sort of thing started off life as a cube, nice and simple, and all I'm doing is selecting edges, moving these, making adjustments where I need. Let me just move this object out of the way. And I've beveled the corners as well to create that kind of softened edge. So again, with the bevel tool, I'm just selecting the edges that I want to be beveled. So it's the front view edges. There we go. And then I'm hitting bevel. And obviously that's too much in a minute. There we go, that sort of thing. And again, I'm not worried about the back because we're just going to, if I was looking down on my weapon and from behind, we're going to mirror that over, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, cool. Then what we're doing is using the Boolean tool to intersect this. Before I do that, I'm probably just going to put in some more edges on here, just so I've got a little bit more detail to play with. You can see that I'm holding down Control and Shift for it to snap to a grid. There we go, just get a few more in there. That'll do, nice. And all I've got is a cylinder here to create this kind of hollowed out space, this negative space. I'm just intersecting it with a cylinder, so you can see from behind how it's looking on here. So this cylinder, we're actually going to use it to cut out polygons for us. So all you need is to create a cylinder and position it so it's overlapping, it's kind of intersecting, and wherever you position this is going to dictate, just scale this down a little bit, it's going to dictate where the hollowed out section is going to be. So let's say I just put it in the middle here, and what I tend to do is make sure that any faces like this, you can see here, I'm avoiding it edges becoming close. I'm just going to keep it quite simple and make sure that there's no kind of overlap of my edges, just to keep it neater. Again, Boolean tool does create slightly messy meshes, so we've got to be kind of careful with where edges and vertices are going to be created. Okay, so with this selected then, let's just go to object mode and just get selection tool on. I'm going to select this, shift and click on this, so just select that, clicking on it, shift and click on this, and then Boolean tool. Now what I'm going to do at the minute is change this. Now before union, that's actually going to join these and create it, but if I change this to difference, you can see what it's done is actually eat into my shape. So if I just delete these faces in the back here, you can see what it's done. It's like taking a chunk out and created like a negative space for me, which is kind of cool. So that is using the Boolean tool in a slightly different way. If I do just repeat that process so you can see, it's Boolean tool. Oops. That's because it's still in there. Boolean tool, and then instead of union, where it joins them together, you want difference, and that is going to create a nice negative space for me. Okay, cool. Then it's just a case of going around the edges. Oops. Make sure they're all selected. Probably selected the ones that I didn't want, but let's see. And then bevel to create that kind of nice softened edge. I mean, that looks quite cool as it is. You know, you might want it to be kind of quite sharp like that, or you might want it to be more rounded. I mean, that looks quite cool actually. I might leave it like that. And then you can be selecting these rings if you wanted to kind of create it so it looks like it's going backwards or slightly different. If I just double click on some of these and move them, you know, you can create something like this. So you've got kind of shape kind of coming out from the side, or you could kind of move it back. And just pick that middle vertex, push that back as well, and you can create more kind of softened round bits. So that's using the Boolean tool to intersect and create holes within our space. The other thing we can do is marry that up to create these sort of things. It's just using it in the other way. So if I just do the same thing, but this time I'm just going to kind of scale it down a little bit, put it out, put it there, duplicate, Control D, move it over, or maybe I'll have one like down here. It's quite good for like bolts and things like that on weapons. There you go. And you can do the same thing, click, shift click, oops, click, shift click, Boolean tool. And this time you can do it as union, so if you want to just join them up, or again if you want that kind of inverted look, you can go with difference. So just a nice different way of using the Boolean tool to create more detail on your weapon. And it's that kind of level of detail that transforms kind of basic shapes into more complex ones, because you get much more shading on there, and it just looks nicer, just much more detail. Alright guys, that is some more weapon modelling techniques.